Hello and a very good evening, and thank you so much for tuning in to Smart 24 TV. This is Financial Markets. My name is Antonio, and I'm your host. Thank you so much for choosing Smart 24 TV, where we drive your business. On this show in particular, we give you knowledge concerning investment in the capital market space. We bring on board experts from different entities within the markets, and they give you expert opinion on different subjects. And if you want to learn more about how you can use your savings appropriately to get a return, then definitely this is the #1 show. And we'll be bringing you all this content every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Of course, last week was a busy week. The World Investor Week was going down. CMA, in collaboration with USE, put up a couple of events which we were able to actually give you live here on Smart 24 TV. Welcome back from that World Investor Week. I hope it did impact your life, at least your finances, in terms of what you're using your money for. Now today, in a special way, just as a continuation, of course, from the World Investor Week, we discussed financial inclusion, we discussed regulation, we discussed how our markets can become more vibrant. But then when you look at the Capital Markets Authority, it is the body that gets the game actually to be played right. And tonight, joining me on set is none other than Mrs. Miriam Ekirapa Musali. She's the Director of Legal and Board Affairs at the Capital Markets Authority. She's an accomplished legal consultant and advocate of the High Court of Uganda with local and regional experience in consulting, regulation, and training with financial services sector. Now, Miriam is also an accredited fellow with the Macroeconomic and Financial Management Institute of Eastern and Southern Africa. She worked at CMA for over 12 years and then left CMA to work in the pension sector, and then came back in 2020 to continue the work of making sure the markets are safe and also the investors are protected. Her CV is quite big, and I might not be able to accomplish it, but ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Miriam Musali Ekirapa. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Antonio. It's a pleasure for me to be here, and thank you very much for all the efforts that Smart 24 collaborated with us last week at the World Investor Week. I think it was a great week.
Yeah, it was. I loved your panel discussion where you moderated.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
So, first of all, let's talk about what you do at the Capital Markets Authority. What exactly do you do in that position of the Director, Legal and Board Affairs?
Yeah. So at the Capital Markets Authority, I am really responsible for, first of all, governance of the authority. I am also the secretary to the board. So I make sure that the governance framework is really in place and that the authority is well governed, and I provide support to the board in that way. I'm also in charge of legal affairs at the Capital Markets Authority. The CMA is a regulator. We were established under an Act of Parliament, the Capital Markets Authority Act. And since its establishment, the markets have been growing, so we are in charge of regulation. So I'm in charge of making sure that laws are actually developed. These laws are then sent to the Ministry of Justice, and with the assistance of the Attorney General, these laws are actually published, and they help us to regulate the markets. We are also a department that deals with enforcement to make sure that bad people are kept away.
Sure, amazing.
From the markets, yes.
Sounds cliche, but that's what you do on a daily to keep the bad guys away from the market.
Guys away.
Amazing. Looking at your experience, you have a wealth of experience, especially in law. You have a Master's of Laws in degree from the University of Cambridge, first-class honors. Goodness. You have specialization in international banking, corporate finance. You know, it seems you've cut across so many sectors. You know, what is your secret before we even get into our discussion today? Because I believe
Yeah.
there are many young girls out there who
Yeah.
would look up to you and they would say, I would like to be like
Yeah.
Mrs. Musali.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, in life, you don't walk alone and you don't run alone. I was very fortunate that when I finished law school, I went to LDC, so I did the back course program, and I came to work at CMA as an intern.
Wow.
Yes.
That's how it started.
Yes.
Wow.
So I started out as an intern at the Capital Markets Authority, and I was fortunate to have.
Which year was that? Do you remember?
2004.
Wow, that's not so far. 20 years ago.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was very fortunate to have very good mentors at the Capital Markets Authority. Mr. Japheth Kato was the chief executive at that time, and Candy Okoboy, who is now head of legal at Stanbic Bank. Those people really groomed me, and they gave me an interest in capital markets. By then I hadn't done my master's degree, but I decided I wanted to specialize in an area that I was working in. So the area was really capital markets, so I decided, let me specialize in commercial law. And I was very fortunate to get a scholarship, a Commonwealth scholarship, to go to Cambridge, and it was an experience that really changed my life.
Commercial law.
Yes,
That was
yes,
that was a bachelor's or and masters.
degree.
Masters. Okay.
Yes, master's degree.
Wow.
So that's my specialty, and I'm very happy. One of the things I wanted to do when I was at Cambridge was to come back and serve my country. Make sure that this knowledge is transferred and that we can do something good for Uganda. So I'm happy that I'm utilizing all the information that I gained over the years.
We are lucky to have you. Otherwise, you would be in the House of Commons, right? I guess. But thank you for coming back, and thank you for serving the nation, really. Now, tonight we are discussing, really, the capital markets regulation landscape vis-a-vis the growth of the capital markets. When you look at what the capital markets does, it's like a police job, really looking around for people who are doing wrong. But also, on the other hand, it has the mandate to keep the markets growing, thriving, and vibrant, you know. So we want to discuss the balance on how you do that. But let's start off with the current regulatory framework. Walk us through briefly, in a nutshell, what is the current regulatory framework? What are some of the main rules and regulations that are governing the capital markets in Uganda?
Yeah. So when it comes to frameworks, regulatory frameworks, we have primary legislation and we have secondary legislation. Okay. So CMA has three main acts. And once you understand these acts, then you'll understand how the framework actually develops. Yeah. So the act that established the Capital Markets Authority is the Capital Markets Authority Act. It's now CAP 65. Initially it was CAP 84, but it's now CAP 65. That is the law that establishes the authority. That's the law that deals with the mandate of the authority. Why has the authority been put in place? It has been put in place to protect investors. It has been put in place to make sure that that there's confidence, to promote confidence in capital markets. So that's the law that puts in place the board of the authority. It's the law that deals with all the administrative matters regarding the authority, but it's also the law that gives the authority powers. The power to license, the power to regulate, and all the categories of...
So you speak with your chest because of CAP 65.
Exactly, CAP 65. So that's the current legislation.
Yeah.
Then we have another law that people would be interested in. This is called the Collective Investment Schemes Law. A lot of people are talking about unit trusts and things like that. It has become something that, you know, people are excited about because of the investment opportunities. Now, if you're in a unit trust, the unit trust is governed by a law, and that's the Collective Investment Schemes Law. Very easy to understand because it's collective. You bring people together and then they invest their money and it's a scheme. So it's the Collective Investment Schemes Act. And then we have what we call the Securities Central Depository Act. Antonio, you're probably too young to remember this, but my first bank account was at Postbank. Now, we used to use a passbook, okay? So when I wanted to draw money, I'd go and write, you know, they'd write it in the passbook, okay? Now,
what is a passbook?
I have no idea. You see, I told you.
I have no idea.
But anyway, we have what we call, now, of course, it's digitized. So you just go to the bank, you don't need to have a passbook. It's the same thing in capital markets. Now, in capital markets, people used to have share certificates, okay? So those first IPOs, people would even hang them on the wall. You know, I have this number of shares in Uganda.
Baroda.
Baroda.
Yes.
That was automated. We went through a process we call dematerialization. organization.
So imagine it was
Yes.
engulfed in the fires on Matuga Road. That
Imagine
means your
that.
shares would be banned.
So those share
Yeah.
certificates were dematerialized. So now we have what we call Securities Central Depository Act.
Yeah.
Now, the Securities Central Depository Act is the law that governs how those shares are stored in electronic form. So that's the primary legislation, and all those laws have regulations that help to operationalize them.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, that's what the landscape looks like, and catering for all those different areas.
So we have simply 3 laws in place.
3
And
acts, yes.
rather the acts,
Yes.
and then this one was the only one amended, the CAP 84 to CAP 65.
So we are in the process now of amending the Collective Investment Schemes Act
Okay.
and the regulations because there's been a lot of growth in this area of collective investment schemes, and so we've noticed some things that need to be amended.
Yeah.
But for now, the Capital Markets Authority Act has gone through amendments right from 2011.
Yeah.
So in 2011, CAP 84 was amended. The reason for the amendments in 2011 is because of issues of capital raising. Okay, so the government decided that all aspects of raising of capital should be housed in one law, which law should be the Capital Markets Authority Act. And so prospectus provisions were removed from the Companies Act and put into the
Capital
CMA
Markets
Act. So
Act.
the main amendments in 2011 was to make sure that everything to do with capital raising is in
found
one
in
law,
one law,
and that there's an authority that's responsible for it.
Yeah.
In 2016, we had another amendment to the law. This amendment was because...
Still on CAP 65.
Yes.
Okay.
By then it was CAP 84.
Okay.
So the CAPs have recently been revised by the Uganda Law Reform Commission, but the content of the regulations is still the same. So in 2016, the Capital Markets Authority wanted to become a member of IASCO. IASCO is the International Organization of Securities Commissions. So imagine all the capital markets authorities
In the world. Yeah.
So CMA wanted to become a member of IASCO, and to become a member of IASCO, IASCO had put in place a multilateral memorandum of understanding to make sure that we can share information and we can assist each other when it comes to regulatory aspects. And so we went through an assessment of our laws against international standards, and the law was lacking in some particular areas. And so we went back to government, to cabinet, and the law was amended to align it with international standards.
Yeah.
So those are the amendments that we carried in 2016. So
nice.
that's really the
So
history.
the CRS is the next in line
Yes.
for amendments.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and also the SCD
Yes.
will also be amended, because we always have this issue of lack of centralization. You have the SCD and then the CSD in different places, which doesn't make sense because they're almost the same instruments, right?
Yeah.
So I hope that will also be looked at. But now, this morning, there was a notice from CMA concerning a company called BuildNet over its issuance of shares and public advertisement of shares. And CMA was saying they have nothing to do with this and the public should take caution. Now, such notices have been seen. I remember one of Capital Chicken, very, very evidently. That very morning, there were people going to Capital Chicken. And a couple of days after your notice was issued, the company closed doors and people lost a lot of money. Now, what are some of the penalties, especially concerning issues of non-compliance with your regulatory frameworks that are in place currently?
So the notice, as you've said, for BuildNet had to do with the fact that BuildNet has put out billboards, asking people to invest in their waterfront apartments, but very specifically to become shareholders. Now, that's what drew the attention of the Capital Markets Authority.
That is your language. This, when you talk about shareholding.
Yes, because if you're to invest in a company, that company should issue what we call a prospectus. It is the document that tells you about the company. These are the directors. These are the accounts of the company. These are their auditors. So it gives you a lot of information about that company, and there has to be a government entity that is actually looking and regulating that space. Now, that advertisement, of course, drew our attention, and we felt it was important to warn the public because sometimes people invest without knowing that this is not an approved investment. So that's really the circumstance. So under the law, Capital Markets Authority has a mandate. It's actually our mandate to protect the public. when it comes to investments in securities. And if someone issues securities without a prospectus, that person is liable to prosecution, and there are penalties. They can be imprisoned under the law because of issuing shares to the public without a prospectus. And this has evolved, actually. If you look at the history of capital markets, we had a case many years back when I had just joined the authority. It was Kampala City Council Football Club, and they invited members of the public to come and invest in Kampala City Council Football Club. And when the authority intervened, the authority was sued.
Wow.
So this matter actually went to the High Court.
You were sued?
Yes.
Wow.
Kampala
That's
City
interesting.
Council Football Club said that we were overstepping our mandate.
Wow.
And the judge had to look at the reason why CMA intervened, and it was ruled in favor of the authority. The judge appreciated the fact that in all jurisdictions, raising of capital and collecting money from the public to put in your business is really something that has to be regulated. So the law was actually even amended as a result of some of those cases that we had in the past. And so it's really for the public to be aware, to look out for these adverts, you know. You know, some people are funny. Sometimes you can tell people, don't put your money there. And tomorrow someone is busy.
They are busy
They even
trying.
borrow.
Yeah. After seeing the notice.
After seeing the notice.
Yeah,
And it's very hard. When you lose money, you're talking about capital chicken. Our advertisement came out. This matter was brought to the attention of the DPP. We've had some arrests that have taken place. The matter is actually in court right now. But you see, once there's been a fraud, it is very hard to recover.
Yeah.
Cases take
hard.
long. We have case backlog. So by
With
that
BLQ, there's so many cases
look at
that
that.
haven't even...
Yeah. Well, when will you get your money?
Yeah.
When will you get your money? So people need to pay attention to regulatory interventions. Yeah, they need
Well,
to.
amazing. Any specific penalty that you can point out, especially to someone
Yeah.
who nullifies this act when it comes to, for example, maybe listing shares illegally?
Yes.
What is the specific
Yes.
penalty?
We have 3 months imprisonment for people that issue.
Okay.
Sorry, 3 years.
Okay, I thought 3 months. I think these people are going to just...
You're like, it's over now. It's 3 years.
Okay.
3 years imprisonment as well as a fine of about not exceeding 10 million shillings. So it's really a criminal matter. And
But still,
we are
10
also-
million. These guys take billions of money.
Yes, they
You
do.
look at companies that, you know,
Yeah.
they swindle
Yes.
billions
Yes.
in just a couple of months.
Yes.
10
yes.
million really
Yeah.
sounds too
Antonio,
small.
This is why we are in the process now of amending the Act. We have our principles before the Cabinet. We want the Capital Markets Act amended, and one of the areas is enforcement and the penalties. We really want these penalties to be revised. We actually had some interaction with the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, and those are some of the areas that came out. We are also in partnership with the CID, the Criminal Investigation Department, and we had to sit down and look at credible deterrence. Someone is not going to be deterred if they know that they're going to swindle billions and then the penalty is 10 million. So we are actually in the process of revising that.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you brought it out. I hope the lawmakers
Hopefully
listen, so that
they
when
will
we go to
listen.
Parliament, they
Yeah.
will pass that
They
law
will
because it's
listen.
very important. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
As we go, before going to the break,
Yeah.
when you look at most of these Ponzi schemes and all these other unregulated people coming into the market, they find people really desperate for something, you know, that can yield results. And you know, funny enough, these things actually work when they are starting. People actually get some money and they entice others to join. And as more people are joining, these people close and they go with the money.
Yeah.
So what specific mechanism have you put in place to see that you realize these things early? Because usually by the time you issue the notice, already it's too late. People have already lost money, people have put in money, and more people are going there.
Yeah.
So what mechanisms are you putting in place to see that you see this at an early stage? Yeah.
You know, one of the things we are doing now, and it's funny you asked me that today, because yesterday we had a meeting and we're just discussing and saying we need to reach the media houses. So can I use your channel?
Please.
To tell the media houses?
Yeah.
We're saying we need to reach the media houses because people that are doing these schemes need publicity. And where do they go? They go to the media houses.
Yeah.
Now, if the media houses are aware of the Capital Markets Law, that you cannot raise securities without approval of Capital Markets Authority, they will inform the authority.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they're also aiding and abetting. Okay, so we are reaching out to the media houses. We are doing a lot of public education. We are working now with the central bank. I'm sure you've heard of the financial literacy initiatives by the central bank, and giving people information to say, look here, Capital Markets Authority is a government agency. Yes, if someone approaches you and says, I mean, I have a case that we had to charge the individuals, the suspects in this case, but they went and got about 8 million shillings from someone and said, this is for investment in capital markets.
Wow.
Capital markets is broad.
Yeah.
This is for investment in capital markets. And then they told the person that you give us your money, when we list our company on the stock exchange, you're going to be rich.
Wow.
Yeah, you're going to be rich. So you can imagine the lack of information is a big area. So we are really using every channel, every platform to make sure we are giving people information, verify. You know, find out, are these people licensed? Are these shares actually going to be listed on an exchange?
Talk about media. CMA, to be honest, I will admit this, you are media shy. I have to say.
Really?
You are, yes, you're media shy because if these people actually, the Ponzi schemes, and they utilize media. Do you realize that?
Yes, they do.
They utilize media, and even these video jokers who translate movies.
Yes.
Particularly, he was translating. Whenever he was translating a movie, he would make an advert for Capital Chicken. You have no idea how many people watch his movies. You have no idea, and he regretted it afterwards. He was like, "These guys made me do something very bad." But imagine now, CMA was using his voice.
Yes.
Imagine. How many people you would reach? Can you imagine? By using him. So I also think on your side,
it's a good point.
you need to come out more often.
It's
especially.
a good point, and we've started. I'm here now.
Sure.
We were with you last week. We've started. We are putting.
You're coming out of the shell.
Yes, we're coming out of the shell, but also you have to appreciate that we need more support from government.
I know.
We need more support from government. The responsibility that CMA has under the law is huge.
Immense. It's immense.
It's immense.
I don't know your budget, but I don't think...
It is very small. I shouldn't even talk about it here because you may tell me to leave the studio, but it's very small. So we have a very small team that is responsible for supervision of the market. But when we are having a lot of these Ponzi schemes, people are doing, the capital chickens and the like are doing what we call investment contracts. Now those investment contracts, they have to be regulated. Now, if these areas are not regulated, it becomes a post-mortem. It's not what we want, but we really need to have government also offer more support to CMA so that the workforce is really there and they can, you know, help to police and to watch the markets.
I hope the budget committee is watching. CMA needs more money because it's doing a great job. And for this country to develop, we need a very developed capital markets. Without CMA, we can't do that. So we're going to take a very quick breather. When we come back, we want to look at market development. In light with regulation, how is market development still a key priority to the CMA, despite the fact that they have to keep the market safe? Can they still ensure that the market grows with all these strict rules and regulations around the market? My name is Antonio, and we are with Mrs. Ikirapa Musali Miriam, and we are discussing the regulatory framework of the Capital Markets Authority. We'll be right back after this quick break.